Hello, Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope you are doing very well. I am AK Manjurul Islam, live and exclusive before you once again from my page Manjur's English Solutions. It's a very cool evening out here and I have caught cold, frequently sneezing and coughing. So if somehow this sneezing and coughing interrupts my speaking, I beg apology for that at the very outset. But I'm feeling quite okay right now. So anyway, today I will deliver my lecture on this live session on a particular topic, that is sociolinguistics and language variations. I repeat, sociolinguistics and language variations. So what is sociolinguistics? First of all, we have to know that. So far, I have actually conducted my live sessions on grammar, on English language skills, and especially I emphasized on English language and grammar mainly. Now today I am actually dealing with linguistics and a branch of linguistics, that is sociolinguistics. So it might be helpful for the students of ELT background or students who are studying ELT. They might find this live session quite handy. Anyway, so what is sociolinguistics? Let me explain that. Sociolinguistics is the scientific study of how language influenced by society, or how society is influenced by language. I repeat, sociolinguistics is the study of the relation between language and society. That means how society influences language or vice versa. That means how language influences society. So this is the point of discussion of sociolinguistics. Now, what is language variations? Actually, according to different class, different community, different social contexts, language varies. So each and every language is called a code in terms of sociolinguistics. I repeat, each and every language is known as a code in terms of sociolinguistics. So a language is a code. Now, within this code, there are a lot of variations. That means each and every language has got a lot of variations. Even if you see, in case of Bangla language, you would find a lot of variations all around. Because people of Rajshahi, Kumilla, Noakhali, Sylhet, Chittagong, they do not speak in the same way. Even in case of Bangla, we find a lot of variations all around the country. So different regions, different parts of the country, different class of the people, they use language, Bangla language differently. So in case of each and every language, the same things happens. Actually, language has got a lot of variations. So what are those variations that I'm going to talk about? I'm going to explain those variations one by one. Number one variation is dialect. I repeat, dialect. So what is dialect? Dialect is actually a regional variation of a language. I repeat, a dialect is a regional variation or variety of a language. Suppose if I give you example of Bangla language is not spoken in the same way in Rajshahi, in Kumilla, in Noakhali, in Chattogram, in Chapai-Nawabganj, in Sylhet. So you will find regional variations of language. Different regions have different accents of language, different patterns of language they use. So this regional variation of a language is known as a dialect. I repeat, the regional variation of a language is known as the dialect. So I hope you understand. As I have already told you that Bangla language has got different dialects. In case of Rajshahi, Kumilla, Noakhali, Sylhet, all these people from these areas, they use different dialects. So these are the variations of Bangla language. And now let us move on with the next variation, that is sociolect. I repeat, sociolect, Sociolect, sociolect. So what is sociolect? There are different classes in the society: upper class, lower class, middle class, so many classes, and even there are other classes, other communities of people living in the society. So they do not speak in the same way. You will find slight difference of language among the upper class people, lower class people, and the middle class people. If you see a rickshaw puller, he doesn't speak the same way as a university teacher speaks. There will be a lot of variations in their expressions. So this variation according to different classes of the society is known as sociolect. I repeat, the variation that is created by different classes of the society is known as sociolect. So different classes, communities of the society use language differently. So within a code, we see variations according to different classes. So this variation is known as sociolect. Now let us move on with the next variation, that is diaglossia. I repeat, diaglossia. What is diaglossia? Diaglossia is actually two variations of a single language. I repeat, diaglossia is two variations of a single language used in the same community simultaneously or side by side. That means two variations of a single language will be used in a single community simultaneously or side by side. That is known as diaglossia. And if two different languages are used in the same community at the same time simultaneously, that is known as bilingualism. In case of India, if we talk about India, in Kolkata especially, if we see, the people there can speak Hindi and Bangla. So they can switch between Hindi and Bangla frequently. So this can be called bilingualism because two languages are used side by side in the same community. But I am not talking about that. Bilingualism is a different thing. So there is a slight difference between diaglossia and bilingualism. You have to remember that. You have to keep it in your mind that diaglossia and bilingualism are not the same thing. Bilingualism is two different languages used in the same community side by side or simultaneously. Just like I gave you an example in Calcutta, people are using Bangla and Hindi simultaneously. So this can be called bilingualism because they are speaking two languages in the same community side by side or simultaneously. But in case of diaglossia, two different variations of a single language, not two languages, two variations of a single language will be used in the same community in case of diaglossia. And I am giving you an example. If you consider the people from Sylhet, the language they use actually, they can speak standard Bangla and their local accent as well. So one Bangla language has got two different variations. One is their local accent, Sylheti accent, and the other one is the standard Bangla. They can speak both at the same time in a single community simultaneously. So here, two different variations of a single language, that means their local variety, Sylheti language, and the Bangla language, standard Bangla language, two variations of Bangla language are used side by side in a single community. This can be called diaglossia. I hope you understand. Diglossia is two different variations of a single language used in the same community, side by side, and bilingualism is two different languages used side by side in the same community. I hope you understand. Now, let us talk about register. What is register? This register is spelling is quite different. Register, not registrar. That is university register. That is a different spelling. This register's spelling is rigister. So this is another type of language variation, register. Registers are those varieties of language that are actually used in different contexts and situations. Our language actually varies. The same language varies in different situations, different contexts, while communicating with each other. Because you do not speak in the same way you speak with your friends. You do not speak in the same way in the office. The way you speak with your friends, your language will be changed, will be completely different kind of language whenever you are talking to your boss in the office. There will be a lot of formalities in your expressions. So you are not speaking in the same way in office as you are doing with your friends. So in your friend circle, you are using one kind of variation. With your family members, you are using one type of variation. And in case of official activities in the office, you are being more formal in your expressions. So your expressions is varying according to different context and situation. So these variations of a single language according to different context and situations is known as register. I hope you understand. Now I would like to talk about another variation of language, that is idiolect. Idiolect. What is idiolect? Well, have you heard people actually have got different types of pronunciation? That is their personal issue. There is nothing to deal with region or local variety. This is completely personal. Some people cannot say Allah, they say Allaho. Some people say Amora, not Amra. I am talking about Bangla language. They do not actually say Amra, they say Amora. Allaho. Rishka, they cannot pronounce rickshaw, they actually pronounce rishka. So that is their personal variation. There is nothing to deal with local variation. There is nothing to do with dialect. This is their personal problem. They pronounce like this. This is their personal variation of language. Personal peculiarities of pronunciation or use of language, or this personal variation is known as idiolect. Idiolect. I hope you understand. Idiolect spelling is IDEOLECT. I repeat, IDEOLECT. Idiolect. This is the personal variation of language. I hope you understand. Now, let us move on with the next variation of language, that is Pidgin. Pidgin and Creole. These are the two variations. Last but not the least, the last two variations, those are Pidgin and Creole. So what is Pidgin and what is Creole? I would like to explain these two variations of language. Pidgin is actually used in business purpose. It's a business language, contact language used in business communication, and it is nobody's mother language. A Pidgin is nobody's mother language, and it has no recognizable grammar. I repeat, Pidgin actually is a business language or a language that is used for business communication. It doesn't have any recognizable grammar, and it is nobody's mother language. So I hope you are not understanding it, but I will explain that to you. Actually, if you think of Portuguese sailor Vasco da Gama, when he came to our land in Bangladesh. He was the first one, first sailor, first foreigner who discovered our country, I mean Bangladesh. He came to Bangla, our country, with his companions for business purpose. So how did he communicate with us? He and his companions, they came to our country for business. Vasco da Gama, he was a Portuguese sailor, and he came to our country for business purpose along with his companions. But how did he and his companions communicate with us? We didn't know their language, they didn't know ours. So how did the communication took place? How did the communication take place? I repeat, how they communicated with each other. Well, let me explain that. Suppose one group's language is L1 and the other group's language is L2. I repeat, one group's language is L1 and the other group's language is L2. L1 doesn't know L2's language, L2 doesn't know L1's language. Then how will the communication take place? Well, what they do then, they take elements from both L1 and L2 and create a third language that is nobody's mother language, neither of L1 group nor of L2 group. This third language that they create, taking elements from both L1 and L2, this L3 or the third language, it has no recognizable grammar. It is actually a deviated form of language, and it is actually nobody's mother language. It is only used between these two groups or communities for business purpose. So this is known as pidgin. I hope you understand. I repeat, these two groups, L1 and L2, they do not know each other's language. So they create a third language for communication, taking elements from both their own languages. Shaheen said, Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam, Shaheen. Thank you very much. It's nice to see you guys here. I always encourage students to join my live sessions, and it's nice to see you. You regularly attend my live sessions. I see that. And thank you for joining, Shaheen. I must appreciate you. So as I was saying, Shaheen was actually one of my students from my previous workplace, European University of Bangladesh. He is a very bright student. Currently, he has got a job. He's working at English medium school, probably. So thank you for joining. So as I was saying, pidgin is nobody's mother language. It is only used for business purpose, and it is actually a grammarless language. That means a language that doesn't have any recognizable grammar. It is only used for business purpose. It's a contact language and it has no recognizable grammar. So I am explaining that to once again. I am explaining that to you once again. L1 and L2 two groups, they use L1 and L2 language respectively. They do not know each other's language. How will they communicate? They will create a third language taking elements from both L1 and L2. So it is nobody's mother language, neither of L1, neither of L2. So this third language that they have created, it is only used between these two communicators for business communication, for business purpose. So this is known as pidgin. I hope you understand. So the Portuguese people, when they first arrived in our country, how did they communicate? They communicated with us in pidgin. That means that they created a third language, and that third language was pidgin. Okay, now let us move on with Creole. What is Creole? When pidgin becomes mother language of a particular group, then that will be known as Creole. When pidgin becomes mother language of a community, that is known as Creole. So is there any possibility? The possibility is very rare, 5 to 10% or 15%, whatever the percentage is. Even 5% possibility is a possibility. So in case of Creole, it happened in many countries. In case of island of Mauritius and Haiti, the language the people there, use actually is Creole. I repeat, the people from Mauritius and Haiti island, they use Creole for communication. That means at a time they used pidgin, and that pidgin gradually in course of time was transformed into Creole. That means Pidgin became mother language gradually in course of time. So how does it happen? Suppose those Portuguese people who that example that I gave previously, I'm trying to make you understand from that example. The Portuguese people, when they arrived in our country, they started communicating with us with a third language, that is Pidgin, and they kept on using this Pidgin for a long time, year after year, generation after generation. They kept using this Pidgin. Then what happens after a certain period of time, after using Pidgin for a long period of time, it might turn out to be the mother language of a community. That is known as Creole. If Pidgin becomes mother language, then that will be Creole, and then that will be a mother language of a community, and that will definitely have its own grammar. I hope you understand. So Pidgin and Creole, two different variations. These are the last two variations that I am talking about. So when Pidgin becomes mother language in course of time, it is known as Creole. And even in case of West Indies, if you say British established colonies during the period of colonization in many countries, they established colonies in West Indies as well. So West Indian people, they started to communicate with them in Pidgin. So later on, gradually in course of time, after using that deviated form of English language for a long time, they kept using it, and gradually it became their mother tongue. Now the West Indian people, the language that they speak, it can be called Creole, because their expression is quite different from the British and the Australians. I hope you understand. That is a deviated form of English that turned out to be their mother language. So this is Creole actually. West Indian people do not say batsman, they say batsman. Am I clear? No Oman, no cry. That means there is a very famous song that is sung in West Indian dialect, No Oman, No Cry, sung by Bob Marley. He's a very famous singer. So most of the people, they misunderstand the song. Am I clear? They misunderstand the song because after being disheartened by a girl, they listen to this song. They think that there is no girl, there is no pain, there is no cry. No Oman, no cry. But it's not like that. The song is written in West Indian dialect. That song is actually sung in West Indian dialect. That means no Oman, no cry. That means no girl, do not cry. So this song is actually has got different interpretation, but people misunderstand it. They misinterpret it. They think that there is no woman, there is no pain, there is no cry. But that is not the actual meaning of the song. The meaning of the song is no girl, do not cry. No woman, no cry. So this is actually sung in West Indian dialect. So West Indian expression, this is, as I have already told you, it's a Creole. The West Indian people, they started communicating with the British people in Pidgin, in a third language, a deviated form of English. Gradually it became their mother tongue. That means it became Creole. So I hope you understand. This is how Pidgin and Creole works. So these are the variations that I have talked about. And today's topic was sociolinguistics and language variations. I have already explained the different variations. I have talked about dialects. I have talked about sociolects. I have talked about idiolect. I have talked about register. I have talked about diglossia, bilingualism. I have talked about Pidgin and Creole. So these are the variations, language variations that are available or existing in the society, different kinds of language variations according to sociolinguistics. So I hope this session somehow might be helpful for the students of ELT and linguistics. So in my next session, next live session, I will come back with another new topic. Till then, it's goodbye from here. Thank you for joining my live session, and good night to all of you. Stay cool, stay fine, stay healthy. Thank you very much.